If you want to maintain healthy stock levels, you have to define what that is for each part. Each part has a different lead time. Each part has a different sales volume or forecasted sales volume or consumption volume and yield volume. I'm Lance with Brando Consulting, inventory software expert since 2006. In this video, I'm going to show you how to define healthy stock levels so you can manage your purchasing in Fishbowl. You may see on the part screen this auto reorder point tool. This is useful if you've been using Fishbowl for a while. Fishbowl will know what your average sale per day is. I'm going to show you a tool developed by Brando Consulting that you can use when you're new to Fishbowl and just starting out. So first of all, we go to reports and upload the custom report that we made. Okay, there's the report. We have the report loaded up. Now we'll run the report. And this is actually just a tool that is meant to be used in Excel only. So the next step we take is to modify, look at the date range, click new to Fishbowl if we're new to Fishbowl, and click OK. Then we'll save it and save it in CSV format. It only works in CSV format. And I'll call it reorder point calculator. Okay. Now I'll go find it. There it is. This will give you a list of all your parts. Go ahead and stretch these columns out so you can see this better. And what this tool does is it automatically calculates your reorder points for you based on the required criteria for reorder points. So you'll see the formula here for a reorder point. It's lead time plus minimum stock multiplied by the unit sales per day, and we can even add a forecasted amount as well. So first of all, we have these three columns, and then reorder point and order up to level. Now the description is in our way. I'm gonna get the description out of our way. So what this does is it puts the formula in there already. So if we have a part that we want to keep a week's worth of inventory in, we put 7 as the minimum amount. Order intervals, the number of times the frequency in which we purchase the inventory. So we'll say we purchase that once a month. And then the manual usage per day is what your average decrease per day is. So if you sell or consume this part, if you sell or consume 30 in a month, then your average usage per day would be 1. You know, if it takes your vendor 30 days to get it to you, your lead time is 37 and is 30. So then look at what this tool is doing over here. It's automatically creating your reorder point and your up to level. In order for the purchasing tools and the auto manufacturing tools, the production planning tools and the purchasing planning tools to work in Fishbowl, you have to tell Fishbowl what you define as your healthy stock levels. And then when you use the automated tools in Fishbowl, it will work to bring your inventory back to those predefined healthy stock levels. When you use the Auto PO wizard or when you use the Auto MO wizard in Fishbowl, it will look at all of your outstanding work orders and sales orders, all of your outstanding purchase orders, everything that's coming in, everything that's going out, what's already in stock. And then it will also look at what you define as your healthy stock levels. So this spreadsheet that I'm showing you here will help you define what those healthy stock levels are. And what Fishbowl wants to know, it actually doesn't want to know what your minimum quantity threshold is. It just wants to know at what point do you want to create a manufacturer order, or at what point do you want to create a purchase order. And also, what is your maximum threshold? What is defined as overproduction? What level do you not want to go over? So in this spreadsheet, we define what that point of order issue is and what our maximum threshold is by entering in our minimum threshold. So notice this is in days. Now, when you start using Fishbowl, Fishbowl works really well to keep your inventory above the minimum quantity. So what I see with people who are just starting to use Fishbowl for the first time usually is when they use these reorder points, Fishbowl tells them to buy a lot more than they normally would. So be conservative with your minimum quantities. Make your minimum quantities lower than you normally would, because Fishbowl is going to tell you to order when it reaches this reorder point right here. Now, when I say Fishbowl is going to tell you to order, I don't mean it's going to pop up an alert message. That's not how it works. It's not going to annoy you and say it's time to order, it's time to order. And what happens is you actually go to the purchasing tool here in the purchase order screen and click on the auto PO. Or you go to the manufacturer order screen and click on the auto MO. When you click on one of these and click next, it'll run its complex algorithms looking at what's going out, what's coming in, what's already in stock, and what you define as your healthy stock levels. Go ahead and finish creating this spreadsheet, entering in what your average sale per day is, or your average usage per day is. Enter in the minimum days of inventory you never want to get below. And this is just the cushion you want in case of emergencies. This minimum days of inventory is your safety stock. It's there for unforeseeable circumstances. Higher sales than expected, or the vendor taking too long to get it to you. Vendor shortages, for instance, okay? That's the only reason that's there, and Fishbowl is going to work to keep your stock levels above that. So if we say our average sale per day is 10 for a particular part, and we want to keep 3 days in stock minimum, it's going to put your minimum quantity at 30, right? And then it's going to tell you to order in time, so by the time it arrives, it'll be back down to 30 again. So this is saying to order when you're at a level of 330, because your lead time is 30 days and you sell 10 per day, so already that puts you at 300. And then you don't want to get below 3 days, so your minimum is 30. So it's going to tell you to order when you get to 330. And by the time the inventory arrives, you're going to be down to 30. Then it will tell you to order enough so you don't have to order again for 30 days. So it's going to say order up to 630. So go ahead, fill out this spreadsheet, and then we'll import it. Now, when you're filling out this spreadsheet, you may find parts that you don't want to keep in stock. They're not popular parts, and it's okay if you run out of those. So everyone has those. Everyone has popular parts that you need to keep in stock, and everyone has parts that you can just buy or manufacture quickly in a day. So you don't need to stock them. Your vendor lives next door, or you can mix it or blend it or produce it in minutes or hours. Those parts can be eliminated off this spreadsheet. Go ahead and just exclude those parts from this spreadsheet. You can also classify those parts as C-type parts. Over here you see this ABC code. Just classify them as C-type parts, and then those parts don't need a reorder point, right? They don't fit into this category of where we want to keep them in stock. Now, it's very useful to have vendors in here If this is something that you purchase and there is a vendor, I would make note of the vendor if it's not already there. If the vendor is there, then use that vendor to group. Highlight this line, turn on data filtering, and then turn on freeze panes. Then we can group by the vendor if there is a vendor there. Okay? And then all the parts by one specific vendor may have the same lead time. They may not, and they may. Order interval is the frequency in which you order. How often do you order this part? Best way to determine your order frequency is to think back and just ask yourself what you're already in the habit of doing for your order interval. Does past history say you normally order this about every 30 days? You may be thinking, well, Lance, I order it when I need it. I've never really thought this way. And that's true for most people. So this is a new way of thinking. You are being proactive in this new way of thinking. You're saying, okay, I'm going to plan to order. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you set your order frequency at a predetermined number of days, that's what's going to end up happening, right? If you get below this reorder point and you run the auto PO or the auto MO, Fishbowl will tell you it's time to buy, even if it's before that order interval period of time, right? But this is, according to this order interval, that's what drives the maximum quantity, is the order interval. All right, once you have your reorder point calculator filled out and you have your reorder points defined for everything, over here on the left-hand side, it says delete row, and it also says reorder level import right here. Reorder level import. So we delete these rows, and then we delete this column, and now, believe it or not, this is ready to import into Fishbowl. Well, I have some X's here. I need to eliminate those X's. Actually, that probably wasn't the way to do that. Okay, I got rid of those X's. Now this right here, this deserves a moment. Location group. You may have more than one warehouse. You may have more than one building. In Fishbowl, that's a location group. And each building, each warehouse, may have different min and max thresholds. And so you would need to do this import for each individual location. Your retail shop, your warehouse, your manufacturing facility, right? Whatever different buildings you have, and I'm specifically talking about the building with the address, the location group. So you want to define healthy stock levels for each one of those groups. In this particular example, this company has one warehouse that we're concerned with, and so it's going to be company-wide. Yours may say Maine or the name of the city that the warehouse is in. So you need to do this. So we're ready to import this. Let's go ahead and import it. I'll save this, go back to Fishbowl. Now I'm going to go to File, Import, and then go to Reorder Levels. Find my reorder point calculator that I just put together, that I just filled out. Finish, and wait for the magic to happen. If I get an error message, manage the error message, look at that, successful. So now we have defined our healthy stock levels in Fishbowl, and when we use this auto PO, it will start to tell us, hey, order this much. It will start to churn, and now it can not only look at your projected sales and your outstanding sales and your purchase orders and current stock availability, but it will also look at your predefined stock levels and say, okay, you need to purchase this many from this vendor, this many from this vendor, this many from this vendor. Watch the next video on how to properly use this tool, which is terrifying to some people because they look at it and they think, what the heck is that doing? It's taking over my business, right? You actually have a lot of control with this. Don't be afraid of the auto PO. Watch the next video to learn how to properly use the auto PO for the parts that you want to keep in stock. And also, the auto PO does not work for blanket orders. On your reorder point calculator, if you've defined reorder levels for parts that you have an agreement with your vendor to release to you on a monthly basis, say you give them a 1-year purchase order and they release it to you on a weekly or a monthly basis, that's a different scenario. Okay, thanks for joining us. See you at the next video.